Hey friends, I am giving an update. Today is Wednesday, the 19th, it's Juneteenth, and I am able to come into work today. So I had the last chemo for round 4. So I finished my 4th month basically, with each month being 3 weeks of chemo and 1 week off. So next week is my week off, which I have Herceptin, and then Progetta falls on that week. So I'll probably still lug the big ice cooler that recirculates, and cools my hands and feet. I think I'll still bring it along, even though a lot of people believe that the Progetta doesn't cause peripheral neuropathy. I wish I didn't have to bring it around. It's not my favorite thing to carry, but I'm just going to stay safe rather than sorry, because I've heard too many stories of people saying, I didn't think the Progetta would do anything, and then I got neuropathy, which is really hard to know when people pair it with chemo. But when people tell me that and they think it was that, I'm gonna roll with it. I believe them. So I'll just lug it around, and that's fine. So next week, no chemo. This week my labs came in pretty good. They did take a hit from last week when they kind of went up a lot. I think 2 weeks ago my labs went up ridiculous, like super crazy, showing both inflammation, which that was the week I woke up with all the fluid around my ankles after mistletoe. That just continued after the steroids and chemo. That whole week I used those foot pumping devices and did a lot of rebounding, which I'm still doing. I did about only 5 minutes this morning. I should have spent more time, but I did some. And so that was a crazy lab week. Like, my white blood cells were really off the charts. My lymphocyte to neutrophil ratio was just unheard of. It's kind of fun because my acupuncturist is like tracking this in another system, so it has all the colors and things, so it's fun to look at. But yesterday mine looked pretty good. They had dipped a bit again, to be expected after chemo the week before, so this is a reflection of last week. But I'm feeling really great. So I did drive myself this week to mistletoe and to chemo. Not because I've ran out of friends. I just don't want to keep putting the burden on everyone. I know that that's, some people are on the other side there being like, just tell us, just reach out. I get it. I know that. And I really appreciate everyone who's been putting in their time and their energy to make sure I'm showing up to these appointments and able to get myself home safely. But it's okay to do it every once in a while, and I was feeling fine. And I got to listen to what I've decided is probably the most boring book, and I just need to get excited about it again, but it's Fourth Phase of Water, which a bunch of nerds in the fascial world, want you to, if you really want to understand fascia, you need to understand water, and then you need to go down this whole rabbit hole about water that you thought was an easy subject, and you realize you don't really understand anything about the most basic things in the world, and it's a mind boggle, but I'm going to get through it. I'm going to do it. So I also finished The Comfort Crisis, which is a great book, mostly talking about this guy's journey into the woods and working on how society has kind of stolen that sort of wild energy, and so getting yourself out into the Alaskan wilderness for I think it was 4 or 5 weeks he was out there, and having to hunt and having to lug that meat that you finally got, caribou, and then you got to lug it 5+ miles, and and the struggles of that, but how much better you come out on it. That's the kind of stuff that I think is really overlooked in the healing, especially in Western medicine. I think, in my degree, I've always been in the physical world, so it's very quantitative. I can measure our success. We can tell there's less pain. The tissue's stronger. The joint better supported, articulates properly. It's reproducible. But I think a lot of people aren't given the right to maybe explore their mental health. I mean, they're not often. I feel like a lot of people are kind of like, it's just in your head, whatever, get over it, buck up. You just need to exercise more. All that stuff. And I think physical exercise is wonderful for the brain. Obviously, the physiological changes when you're exercising, it's wonderful, obviously. I mean, there's literally no pill in the world you can take that gives you as many benefits as just routine exercise does. And I'm talking on the basic level of moving. If you just walk, just walk 3 to 4 days a week, Doesn't have to be much. You're going to reap huge benefits. So I think that stuff's really important. But I'm also exploring the mental side because it's something that I haven't spent as much time on, and the spiritual side and everything involved with that. It's not something that I would have said I put a lot of focus on because, I'm so distracted with all this fun physical stuff, and to me, working long hours, 12 plus hour days, when you run your own business, people think of like all the work you do hands-on. Well, if I saw 8 people and let's say it was just an hour, whereas I do see a lot of 90-minute and the occasional 2-hour. I'm starting to get people toward half hours, but it's only because my techniques, I can really focus in an area and get a lot done really, really, really fast now. Not just with a pop, with really reproducible, long-lasting changes. So shorter visits are, inevitable. That way I can get more people in. Half hours are a real push for me, so I doubt I'll ever get faster than that. I like working with people, and I like to give them time to think things out and let their mental side come out, because a lot of stuff does come up on the table that has been suppressed because the body essentially stores everything. So I think the mental side should be explored more, especially with things like young cancers. Like, what's going on? Why does this happen? If I've been overworking myself, but in a positive place, knowing that, I love my job, I'm successful, I'm doing all the things I came down here to Asheville to do, then everything seems fine, and then all of a sudden you get diagnosed with cancer. So kind of comes out of left field sometimes, but obviously I was missing some things. It kind of feels, like before I was given this diagnosis and this basic excuse to take off more time and not prioritize everyone else's health around me. And that's honestly what I needed was, I needed an excuse because I wouldn't have come to this conclusion earlier in life. I would definitely have kept this, pattern until I was probably 50 plus, really starting to feel, the physical demands of my body, and then trying to be like, ooh, I probably should have kept teaching longer, or I really should have worked on that Patreon account, or I really should have, kept that part-time teaching gig, or whatever I did, because it does add up. So looking at it as, okay, my mental health is really important, my free time is worth my time, and I need to prioritize that. I shouldn't devalue my services. I've undercharged for a long time, and I know people who see me are like, please don't raise your prices again. I know. I want to make everything affordable all the time for everyone, but I'll tell you, it's not left me in a really great position. Here I am now. I have a lot more bills on my plate than I've ever had. And unfortunately, when you look at how you can make an income and it comes from your career, you have to think seriously, am I worth more? Yes, I am worth more. I have a lot more in the bank on the educational side. I've invested a ton of money into myself, into my brain, into my skills, into my hands, into everything. I've worked really hard, especially the last 3 to 4 years with the soma training and soma therapy programs, and I'm almost done, and I will finish. But yeah, I will have to go up. I want to always be able to work on people that need to see me. I think it's just going to come down to when you need to see me, that's just what it's going to be. Truthfully, people that do what I do are insanely priced. I just think there's a kind of a weird cap on bodywork in general. So I think it's a fine line to tread. People want to think that they know what they're talking about, and then you get somebody like me who, I came out of school feeling like I knew what I was doing and talking about, and then I start working on people and I realize, okay, not everything translates to the table. What else can I learn? You just gotta go down that journey sometimes and figure out if it's worth investing more, and then you have to seriously think about how to get those costs back down. That's the whole point of the education, is to make yourself more valuable. But I've really wanted to do it in ways that I can do it passively, so I'm not making my appointments being unattainable for a lot of people that really need my hands-on work that I love working with. So The mental side of that, I'm trying to master. I still have some difficulty around that. I'm sure that's been programmed in my brain from all sorts of things, but I'll get there. I'm working on it. It's not easy. I'm also doing a lot of the movement meditation. I've talked about doing Qigong. I'm doing a lot of art type approach to mental health. So I'm also doing did a little drawing kind of thing at the clinic. She's got me into this alabaster stone carving. I've gotten into some clay work we just did, some hand building, just simple shapes, trying to perfect a shape. And then today I'm going to go to the high water clay warehouse here and get some more clay so that I can play around with my wheel that I've had now over a year, and I haven't played with it. But we did open it up and test it out, and the belt had come off, so we've already fixed it, and now I feel like I understand the machine better. So I think I'm ready to jump on this thing and start just making things with, with no set mindset on what that's going to be. I'm not worried about producing anything and giving anything out for a while because my kiln is going to take a long time to get rewired and such. So I get to just make stuff with no preconceived, notion on what it's going to be, which is great. That's like true free art, right? So I think the mental health stuff is really important. I've harbored some things in my life that I think I've overlooked, and I'm sure everybody has. I've had some really close people in my life do some pretty messed up stuff. So it's really hurt my trust for people and given me a lot more pause when, I've always been kind of like come on in my house, welcome, get comfortable, I trust you completely, I'll leave the house, that kind of thing. I've had to look at that and not necessarily build a strong wall against people and try to harden myself, but to be more cautious on who I allow, in my house, or who I allow to even know where I live, things like that. I've had to learn the hard way, unfortunately, and I think I haven't spent that time and processed some of those things that I've sort of buried inside of myself. So, you can't change the past, but you have to find a way to not forget it, but forgive it and forgive yourself. I think that I'm quicker to forgive the people who have harmed me than my own self for letting it happen. So I am working on that side of it now. I'm doing the neurofeedback, I'm doing a lot of things to try to hijack my brain to process things in a healthier fashion. And I encourage all of you to explore things that help feel right in your mental capacity. Like if you're working too much, note that and try to find ways to give yourself little breaks. Like I have the last couple years started putting in lunch breaks. I used to just go straight through and not take lunch and just work, the whole day and really not eat until dinner. And my dinner would often be pretty late, like 8:30, 9, and then you're going to bed. So even though I looked physically good, I had good energy, I felt good, I'm kind of flip-flopping my metabolism, I'm doing things a little bit backward, I'm pushing my body to an extreme and not really giving it enough of the nutrients it needs. It takes a lot of time for food prep. So if you have to prep your own food, this is a huge time commitment. So anyway, that's kind of the direction I was taking it today, is try to focus on your mental health a little better and find ways to forgive yourself and, forgive things that have happened to you or, things that you had a hand in. I don't know. Just find ways to process that. I don't have the answer for how to process that. I just gave some examples of what I've been doing. I'm sure there's millions of other ways. I was doing the float tank for a while, that sensory deprivation. I really enjoyed that. Just sitting out in nature. Sarah, I don't know if we put a picture up yet on Caring Bridge, but Sarah made me a swing for the top part of our yard, which is super peaceful up there. So I'm trying to get up there and sit on that swing and just kind of listen to the birds, and I take my little slingshot up there and just do some mindless things. That's really, really, really important. Get yourself more time to just kind of focus on being bored so that your creative side can come out. I think we're so used to just plugging into a YouTube video or a podcast or a book or, radio, anything. There's always people talking to us, So I'm trying to find time where I don't have somebody yapping at me through a device, like I'm doing to you right now. I just messed up all my Indian clubs. So these are Indian clubs, by the way. These things are awesome. Really, really good for your shoulder mobility, and probably been the best shoulder rehab I've done in a long time, Indian clubs. But yeah, I think this is long enough of a video. I think you guys have a lot to focus on. I will say the whole thing that kind of triggered this was yesterday in Qigong. I did a 9 to 10 class before chemo. You know, she's talking about the transition, that the summer solstice is coming up here on Thursday, first day of summer, and it's a great transition time. This is the time about the heart. So the organ of interest now is the heart. We're moving away from the liver. These are two really important organs, especially for my journey right now. So trying to focus on, you know, the emotion joy. There's also anxiety tied on that with the heart, of course. And just, you know, I think the color is red. So you're trying to put this stuff like as imagery on how to like open up your heart and move through some of this kind of stuck, you know, stuff that maybe you've kind of clenched onto too long and buried into the heart, or found a way to close it off. So I think it's a great time to focus on heart stuff, where you are in your relationship with other things in the world, and how you perceive all of it, your mental health. So give it a shot. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye-bye.